Jagradiv, Jai Masters. There's a chant that Yogananda wrote. It's actually an ancient Hindi chant that he translated and put to music. Spirit and nature dancing together. Victory to spirit, victory to nature. What does that mean? Is it just a song using the word spirit, beautiful word nature? No. We'll start with what we've discussed many times before, so we won't go into detail. What is nature? Nature is physical form. Nature is this world you live in. Everything in it, stars, moons, dogs, bodies, everything, all animals' bodies, all plants, all dirt, all minerals, every kingdom that exists on this plane is made of the same thing. We know that it's made of atoms. I will do it quickly because we've done it many times before. When they came up with the word atom, which was a very long time ago, it meant the smallest unit. It's a single unit. Nothing can be divided beyond that. And then they come up with a periodic table, and they have all these different elements, which are atoms of different types, and they begin to understand how they join together, electron rings and electromagnetic forces. You'll understand that. At least you're somewhat aware of that stuff. And they put themselves together. They just naturally attract themselves, and they join together and create molecules, and that's what this world is made of. Well, they found out now, when they look deeper, that the atom is not the indivisible, smallest possible unit that can't be broken down any further. So back in, early in the 1800s, whenever, they found out that it was made up of electrons, neutrons, and protons. It had a nucleus with protons and neutrons in it, and had electrons spinning around it, if you will. And then that was the smallest unit, the electron, the neutron, the proton. That is where they got. But now they've gone way further than that. I'm talking science, reality, not arguable. The scientists agree what is going on is this quantum field, an energy field underneath the whole thing, that somehow, and they're not sure how yet, but they've tested it and proven it, that somehow this waves of energy is not form, energy is energy, like waves of energy, always moving, that it periodically behaves like a particle, that it throws off something. It doesn't throw off a thing. There's no physical thing involved here. It's just like if you take two ends of a magnet, the negative ends of a magnet or positive ends of a magnet, same charge, you try to push them together, it feels solid, but you know it's not. It's forces. So this energy field, the quantum field, throws off forces that when they interact together, because they're forces, they start to interact. And that's what a neutron is, and that's what a proton is, and that's what an electron is. There's those forces that just seem to pop out of the waves, all right? That's why, again, I want to get into science, but there's what's called a wave-particle dichotomy. They first saw it with light, that sometimes light would act like a wave and sometimes act like a particle, a photon. But there's not a photon. It's something, a force that's thrown off those waves. The waves behave in such a way that this force gets created periodically, randomly, who knows, and it throws off these forces. And there's different kinds of fields, and they put themselves together because of these forces, and they make up electron, neutron, and protons. For those of you who know some of the terms, they say that down there in the quantum field, it's not a quantum particle, it's a quantum field. There's quarks, leptons, and bosons. And these quarks are thrown up off the quark field, and if you take two up quarks and a down quark, it creates a proton. If you take two down quarks and an up quark, it creates a neutron. Like they literally have it down to what it takes for this field to seem to create what is apparent particles, but a quantum physicist will use the word particles in quotes because there are no particles. There's just force fields of waves that behave a certain way, and then everything is built from there. The electron, neutron, and protons, and then your atoms, and nobody did that. I think it's great that we figured it out, but we didn't do it. So you look at a periodic table, aren't we brilliant? We know what columns they go in and how many electrons they have and how they behave and all that. Big deal. We didn't make it. It made itself. And we figured out how covalent bonds bond together. We didn't make it that way. That's nature. Nature, I don't care if you call it God. You don't have to call it God. It's nature. It's that which did that. How's that? That which emanated the forces off this field, and they interacted together in such a way that this is what you see. And I never took a physics course or anything like that. I studied business, but I still have trained my mind, and you're welcome to do so. You don't have to, but you're welcome to do so, that almost every moment, what I see that. My intellectual mind sees this is coming up out of the quantum field. That makes it a lot easier to live with. No matter what you're looking at, it's not that it happened in the past. It's so hard for our mind to grasp this. It's happening right now. If it wasn't happening, this would fall apart. And that wouldn't be here. Forget fall apart. It wouldn't be here. But because that process is happening out of this waves of light, of energy, and it throws off these apparent particles, charges, and they interact together, and then they make this, they make that, and then this, every single thing you see, everything you touch, everything you interact with is not there. It's not there. I meant to bring it. There's a quote from Einstein, which is really beautiful, and I only know one part of it, where he says that this is truly an illusion, okay? Albeit a very persistent one. But that literally means that for this world to be here, for your bed to be there in the morning, for the dresser to be there, for the ceiling to be there, the house to be there, that these and the energy is always moving. It doesn't sit still. Energy, it can't sit still. And somehow it's throwing off these things, and they make this. And it stays. Well, it doesn't really stay. It's constantly changing. And it's just, that's what nature is. That's nature. Well, now I understand where, let's say, a chameleon's body comes from. It's made of that. Period. Every single bit of it is made of atoms, and it comes from the quantum field. And if it's running around, it must be happening down there. I don't know what to tell you. But why is it running around? That's one thing, that is nature, that's form. Why does it move? Why do you do what you do? What about your inner world instead of the atom world? Your thoughts, your emotions, your will, your intention, your beliefs, these things, they're not made of atoms. So what is all that? And what causes action in this world other than nature, other than creating a form? This right here, I'm pointing to a glass sitting next to my chair, is emanated from the quantum field. The water is, hydrogen, oxygen atoms, it's just emanated from the field. Right now, it's just sitting there. It's doing its thing. Watch. Who did that? What picked that glass up? I say these words are so powerful. You know what did that? Will. A force called will. That's not part of the standard model of the quantum field, that there's this thing called will. The only forces in the standard model of all of physics are gravity, electromagnetism, strong nuclear, and weak nuclear. There's 4 forces. That's all. Which one of those picked up that glass? What picked that glass up? Which one of those 4 fundamental forces? What are the forces? You know what gravity is? Well, we don't fully understand it completely, but it's a force that mass attracts other mass. That's what gravity is. An electromagnetic field, you know that. There's magnetism and there's electricity. It all comes from photons, by the way. All right, fine. These are big words. What's the strong nuclear force and the weak nuclear force? That sounds like, oh my God, that's very complicated. No, it's not complicated at all. Probably the math is, I guarantee that. But what is the strong nuclear force? Well, you all know, if I asked every single one of you, doesn't matter how brilliant you are or not, what is the nucleus of an atom made of? Protons and neutrons. Different counts of protons and neutrons. Neutrons have no charge. Protons are positively charged. Well, if positive charges repel each other, how the heck do they exist inside this tightly packed nucleus? Ever think about it? Go, try to put 2 positive poles of a magnet together. You ain't going to do it. Yet inside that tightly packed, oh my God, it's way beyond microscopic nucleus, it's all positively charged. Therefore, there must be a force that's stronger than the electromagnetic force that's holding them together. Well, there must be. Let's give it a name. Strong nuclear force. That's what it is. It is the force that must exist because it has to be stronger than electromagnetic force, and you go study it. If you ask a quantum physicist, what's the strongest force in the universe? You guys might say gravity. No, gravity is one of the weakest forces. The strongest force that we know of in the universe is the strong nuclear force because it overcomes electromagnetic force. Then what's the weak nuclear force? I don't want to get into it, but you all know that radioactive material means a molecular structure, atoms, that are falling apart over time. The half-lives, you've heard of that kind of stuff, right? Okay, what makes that happen? How come that's not staying together? There must be another force that's slowly, way weak. It's the weakest force. That's slowly, if you have too many, uranium-235 has 235 electrons. They're way out there, okay? They fall off. And when they fall off, it creates ions that are not stable, et cetera, et cetera. There, you now understand, basically, the four natural forces that all of quantum physics teaches you made the universe. What happened to that glass that just did that? Was it electrons falling off? Was it electromagnetism? No. I did it. Right or wrong? Pick your arm up. You just broke all the laws of gravity. That arm has weight. It's mass. What made it go up? Not the strong nuclear, not the weak nuclear, not the electromagnetic, and not gravity. Me. It's just so neat. It's so neat to be able to talk about science that proves spirituality. But they don't talk about the force of will. And if you ask them, that's not what we're studying. We don't study that. We study, where did form come from? What's making the world exist? There it is. That's as far as we go. We're physicists. Physical. How you like that? Okay, we're not metaphysicists. We're physicists. And they're right, and that's fine, and they should stay within their field. Okay, Master said, spirit and nature dancing together. Well, we've just explained nature. Big thing to explain in one word, but you see it. You got it? That's what makes form, all of form. I don't care if it's the furthest galaxy far, far away. Every single one of those billions of stars, it's all the quantum field. It's just a constant field of energy throughout the entire universe, a universal field, omnipresent everywhere, emanating these subatomic particles, I want to call them particles, right? Which put themselves together to make the stars and the moons, and every single thing is made of that. Okay, but Master didn't say nature dancing with nature. He said spirit and nature dancing together. Okay? So now when we get, why people ask me a question, I want to make sure you got it. So maybe you already know it, and I want to bore you. So now we got nature. We got form. It doesn't move by itself. Do you understand that? It has no intention. It bonds together due to the laws of magnetism and the laws of gravity and the laws of strong nuclear. It just does its thing and ends up building this, which is pretty amazing. If you're not amazed, that's ridiculous. There's 25 trillion living cells that make up your body. They are all made of atoms. And they hold themselves together. Oh my God, we're going to talk about it. All right. So what is it in this world of atoms, this world of the quantum field, that is causing things to happen? Not to mention developing cars and flying to the moon and making rocket ships. And the quantum field made the metal. The quantum field made the lithium. But it did not put it together to create a battery that can drive the Tesla. What did that? Spirit did that. That's the word. Spirit did that. Whoa. What is that? So what you have is creation is created. Here it exists. Now, I might as well let the cat out of the bag in the beginning. They don't know where the quantum field comes from. And they've learned, they mean the great scientists, they've learned so much about being wrong that they say they don't know. Newton, he didn't say he didn't know. I know. These are the laws. Yeah, these are the laws there's one particular level of creation, right? But there's a lower level that those laws don't hold up. Okay? And Einstein showed that also with theories of relativity and so on. So they've been wrong so many times that they just basically say there is a field of energy and basically it has always been there, or maybe there was a big bang that put it there. We think that, but we don't know what it is. Fine, that's good, right? The yogis know. Thousands of years ago, not scientists, but yogis, meditators, knew where it came from. And to this day, they know. And maybe someday the scientists will find out. Maybe they won't. Okay? They found out. How would they find out? They didn't have instruments. They didn't have the big 23-mile CERN accelerator that could bash these things together and see what's going on. They didn't have anything. They sat down and meditated. And what happened was they got past concentrating on their body. They got past concentrating on their thoughts. They got past concentrating. I say concentrating. I'd rather say being distracted by. That's what I teach you, right? Why do you have to concentrate? Because you're being distracted. If I'm just sitting here, I'm just sitting here in the chair, looking at the picture. But you guys are talking. That distracts me. I have to be able to keep my focus, to be focused on something, because I keep getting distracted. Are you distracted by your thoughts? Yes or no? Are you distracted by your emotions? Are you distracted by your body? Are you distracted by form, lights, colors, shapes? You're distracted. Who's distracted? That's what you find out if you go deep enough and are not distracted by the outside world, and are not distracted by the inside world of your emotions and your thoughts. What happens then? You who got distracted are there not being distracted. How you like that? There's somebody in there getting distracted. There's somebody in there noticing the thoughts, otherwise there's not a problem. Somebody in there having trouble with the emotions or really liking them. You, the end receiver, the end user. I'm a computer guy. You're the end user, aren't you? It all comes back to you. So the yogis, the deep ones, went past being distracted by the outside world, being distracted by their own thoughts and emotions, and ended up, I can imagine, my Buddha was a pretty neat one, but who was the first one that found out, okay, I'm back here, and then found out, who am I? That's what Ramana Maharshi asked. That's the main question. Who am I? Who sees when I see? Who hears when I hear? Who is in here? It's hard, because even when we say, who hears when I hear, those are thoughts. But you can go to a place, when you're done, to where you're not distracted by thoughts, you're just there. And what you're going to find out, and all the great ones found out, is you don't have to do anything from there on. What happens is distraction pulls you toward form, pulls you toward thoughts, it pulls you toward emotions, it pulls you toward your body, it pulls you toward the outside world, doesn't it? It pulls your consciousness into it. If that's not happening, consciousness is not being pulled anywheres. Therefore, it very naturally remains within itself. It's conscious of being conscious. That's witness consciousness. Well, actually not. Witness consciousness, we all try to achieve, is not a really high state. Why? Because you're still witnessing something. You're not conscious of being conscious. You're conscious, oh, there are the thoughts. I see them. There are the emotions. I see them. You're taught to pay attention to your body. Here's every movement of my body. You're still experiencing objects of consciousness. When you go deep enough, you've gone past those distractions, and consciousness is just seated in consciousness. It doesn't have to do anything. It's where it came from. It's where you are right now. But you're paying attention to what you're distracted by. If you get that, I've done my job. Are you not distracted by pain? Are you not distracted by love? Are you not distracted by anger? Are you not distracted? That's because your consciousness is capable of experiencing things, and that's what it's experiencing. It gets pulled down into them. Most of people can't imagine what it would be like to just be conscious. That's called becoming established in the seat of self. And it is beyond witness consciousness. By definition, witness consciousness means you're witnessing something. So consciousness is still aware. It's not attached to it. It's not pulled into it. It's not being governed by it. Witness consciousness is a very nice state. You've got a certain amount of liberation. You can make clear decisions because you're not run by your emotions or your thoughts or the world. You're there, okay? But established in the seat of self is when the only thing you're aware of is that I am aware. I exist. I am in here. Now there is nothing pulling you out of that state. And what will happen, and to an extent you've had some experience with this, all right, what will happen is you get pulled up instead of down. I'm telling you that. Like now you're pulled down, but you don't realize it because you've never not been pulled down. You're pulled down. Your thoughts pull you into them, your emotions, definitely your emotions pull you into them, and form does. When you're established in the seat of self, there's nothing pulling you down, therefore the natural process of ascent takes place. Consciousness is pulled up. You're aware of being pulled up, and you're scared. That is very. Even Yogananda talked about Yukteswar, his guru, talked about the fact that even a great being, when the bird cage opens, the bird doesn't just fly out. It's been in there for years. It sits on the ledge of the door and looks around. All right, it's a totally different experience. So as your consciousness is no longer human, is no longer paying attention to human, is no longer paying attention to this world, and begins to pull itself back up to where? To where? Am I going to talk about heaven or hell or this or that? No. It gets pulled back up to its source. Everything has a source. Everything has a source, all right? Anything there is, there's some place it came from, all right? What is the source of consciousness? I haven't used the word God yet. Could have, but I didn't. I'm going to call it the source. It's the source. The source of what? The source of the quantum field and the source of your consciousness. Guess what? They're the same thing. That's the great mystery. That the source of the quantum field is consciousness. Universal, omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient consciousness. The source of your consciousness is the same consciousness. There's only one consciousness. In the ocean, go wherever you want. Every drop of water you pick up is the ocean. All consciousness. What is consciousness? A miracle is that which knows that it knows that it knows. Nothing else knows that it knows. It's something you know. All right? Look at your hand. Your hand's not looking at you. All right? Take an eyeball out. Don't do it, by the way. Take an eyeball out and hold it in your hand. That eyeball ain't looking at you. You're looking at the eyeball. You are a conscious being. You're aware that you're conscious. You're aware that you're aware. I think it's really neat in the Bible when Moses asked the burning bush, who should I say sent me? What God, what's your name? What did he say? I am that I am. That's what you are. You do exist, don't you? You know of all things in the whole universe. What you know is you're in there. You're a conscious, sentient being. All right. The source of consciousness, the source of your consciousness, is not your consciousness. It's the field of consciousness staring at your thoughts, your emotions, your body, and your world through your senses. Well, the same consciousness is looking through his, hers, his, that. It's the exact same consciousness when you were 5 years old that looked in the mirror, that saw a 5-year-old in the mirror, that now sees a 55-year-old in the mirror. Consciousness, it doesn't age, it has no gender. There's a body, may have parts that look male and female, or hormones. They're not going to deny any of that stuff. But the one who sees that has no gender, no age, no race, no color, no creed, no beliefs, no hopes, no dreams. Those are things you look at. Your beliefs, your hopes, your dreams, your concepts, your views. The consciousness is just aware. And all consciousness is consciousness. There's nothing more to talk about. And like I said, it is the same consciousness that is emanating the quantum field as the consciousness that is looking down into it. That's what the yogis found. And that's why their science, the ancient sciences, to an extent, all right, at the core, are way beyond where we are. Yogis, the deep traditions from thousands of years ago, said it was all made of light. Period. It's all made of light. Guess what? It's all made of light. The only difference is they had to believe the masters when they said it was all made of light. We understand it's all made of light. We can take light and build this. Our science can do that. It can take waves of light, and it understands. I don't know how to do it exactly, but it understands that these forces pop out of that, join together, so they can prove it's all made of light. That's pretty neat. So you don't have to believe it all. You got truth. But what about this thing that it is consciousness emanating that, and your source of consciousness is the same? That's what meditation does. The great ones meditated deep enough to where they dropped the distractions of their thoughts, their emotions, and their body, and they returned, if you will. So I have so much trouble talking nowadays, because you didn't return to the seat of self. You never left. You just got distracted. You still are sitting there. You're there right now. You are literally in the highest state that anyone has ever existed at this very second, but you're looking at you. All right, stare at something, a picture, anything. Just stare at one thing. Then that's all you see. You only see what's coming into your consciousness, right or wrong. Do it for a long enough time, and you'll think that's all there is. So somebody said to me, I realize now that the way that I see it is there's me and everything else. Isn't there? Come on. Like you're the center of the universe. Then there's your children and your husband and your wife and your body and your thoughts and there's you and everything else. All right? That's not true. There's no difference in you and everything else. All right? They all come from the same field. It's all the same stuff. But that's because you're staring at you. You stare at your thoughts. Her thoughts are right next to yours, just like her body's right next to yours. But you can't see them. Why? You're not looking at them. It's not that you can't see them. It's that you're so fixated on your own thoughts, your own emotions, your own body, and what you see through your senses and what you've seen through your senses. You stored that stuff in there, didn't you? I always tell you, wake up. How much did you miss? At any given moment, you're experiencing what you're experiencing, right? What aren't you experiencing? What aren't you experiencing compared to what you are experiencing? You're not experiencing point oh whoa 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 to the minus 7 billion of what's going on, and you think you know something. The only thing you're staring at is the past experience you've had, and your current thoughts, and your current body, and your current this, that, and you're just totally lost. And that's all that exists in your universe. Is that all that exists in the universe? Of course not. Are you capable of being conscious of the rest? Of course you are. Just stop staring at yourself. Stare at your hand for a while. Don't do it. Just stare at that hand hard as you can be. Oh, look at those lines. No one else in this room. That's what you've done with your thoughts. You're already with God. You're already in the highest state. You're just staring away from there. So the ones who went deep enough stopped staring away from there. They withdrew their distraction from the senses, from the thoughts, from the emotions, and they ended up in the seat of consciousness, and then it started pulling them up. And that's where the great ones went. That's what's meant a master, an enlightened master. That's what enlightenment is. That's self-realization, way beyond witness consciousness. It means you've realized who's in there. And guess what they all said? God. Well, I just used the word God. I don't want to use the word God. What's in there? Everything. The whole universe. Go read Autobiography of a Yogi. There's a chapter in it called My Experience in Cosmic Consciousness. The first time he merged into that, he said, I was the galaxies. My being was expanding at the speed of light in every single direction. The whole universe was my body. That's right. That's where the great ones went. Who else? My Father and I are one. And the other thing Christ said that I really, really, really liked is at the Last Supper, he's talking about, I'm leaving you now. I'm going to be leaving, And they said, no, we'll go with you. He said, no. Where I go, you cannot follow. Guess where he was going? He never left. The merged state, living in a human body. But where I go, you cannot follow. That's pretty serious stuff in there. So that is where Buddha went in Nirvana. That is where Christ went. It's all the same. So basically, that's the reality of what's going on, is the consciousness that emanated the universe came down to visit and see what it made. Just like an artist steps back, whoa, and looks at the sculpture, or looks at the painting, or a musician. Beethoven just heard all this music, drove him crazy. He had to write it down. He had to hear it out here. Wow, that beautiful, a passion. And so a great musician's that way. Well, God, the force, the infinite, universal, omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent force that is emanating the universe, basically came to experience it. Just like when you have a dream. Who creates your dream? Do you not have cities and houses and people and things in your dreams? What are they made out of? Consciousness. Mind, consciousness. Do you not go in there and play? And sometimes it's not so much fun. There can be nightmares in there. Can you get scared in there? Can you wake up, all freaked out? Can you get married in there? Can you be a girl when you're a boy out here? Can you fly in there? Anybody ever be a bird and fly? Come on. It's the same exact thing is happening. You are creating your dream world out of consciousness. Then your consciousness is going in. A lucid dream, I talk about this into the soul, a lucid dream is described as a dream that you're in like any other dream, except you know you're dreaming. You're aware, oh, I'm in here, I think I'll try flying. You're willfully bringing your consciousness into the dream and doing what you want. Whoa. So you have created it, and then you're in there playing in it. That's exactly what's happening here. The universal force, the universe created out of the consciousness, and then the consciousness is coming in to experience what it created. Guess who you are? Listen to me. The emissary, the ambassador of that consciousness to experience the moment you're experiencing. No one else experiences the moment you're experiencing. Right now, you're seeing different than everybody else in this room. Different angle, different thing. And when you walk out of here, you ain't going the same place as everybody else. You have your own path through creation, don't you? Spirit and nature dancing together. You have your own path through creation that no one has ever had before. No one ever saw what you saw. No one has ever seen what you've seen. You have a private showing. No one ever did, and no one ever will, because it doesn't exist anymore. So you are that consciousness experiencing its creation, that aspect of creation. That's what it means to be in the garden. There are no problems. There's just the ecstasy and joy of art, of passion, of experience, of beauty, of everything, all right? And yin and yang, beauty and ugly, every single thing that's created comes out of that quantum field. And then it is the same consciousness that's dancing in there. So now we have painted a picture. When people ask me, what's really going on? That's what's really going on. What's God? That's God. Somebody wants to ask Meher Baba, fully enlightened being, merged in that state all the time. Why did God create the universe? You know what he said? On a whim. If you're dancing and you're in ecstasy of dancing and you make a move, somebody said, why'd you do that? On a whim. It was the Shakti. It was just the next move. It's just the expression of creation. That's all that's happening. All right. So there is what is meant to be, and that is what's meant to be. There's just total harmony. There's total oneness. And there's just this dance. Just the dance of the universe. Spirit and nature dancing together. Victory to spirit, victory to nature. That's what's going on. What went wrong? If you followed what we said so far, Sunni, I'm not a Bible reader. I've read the Bible once in my life. I never made it through the Old Testament. It doesn't guarantee you, right? But look at some salient parts, all right? But it says there's this thing called the fall from the garden. Is this all just fiction? Is this all just a story somebody made up? Now you've created the universe. And by the way, we were talking about this morning. Go read Genesis. And now that we've discussed what scientists have found, see how close it comes. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. Yogis teach that the beginning word was Om. It's not just something you chant. It's the beginning primal vibration of the universe. Oh, you mean the one that's vibrating down in the quantum field? A word. What's a word? A vibration. So even the Western Bible says that. And the Word was with God. And there was darkness upon the earth. What does that mean? That's what scientists say. The scientists say right now that after the Big Bang took place, everything was so dense that photons couldn't get out through the dense hydrogen clouds. So there was no light emanating in the universe. It was called the period of darkness. That's what they call it, the period of darkness. And then after, 500 million years, something like that, gravity pulled those clouds together because there's a force of gravity, and they pulled the hydrogen clouds together, and photons could leave, and then there was light. And out of that light, all things were created. Hey, that's pretty close, guys, for something that was written thousands of years ago, non-scientists. So basically, all this there it is, all created. Then they got this guy and gal running around the garden, having a good old time, all right, until something went wrong. And it says that. It says there's a fall from the garden. Isn't that far out? How does that fit into this? And what exactly was that tree that they ate of? The tree of self-knowledge. What happened? Consciousness becomes fixated on staring at the object of consciousness. If it stares too long, it can't come back. It got pulled out. You got pulled away from God because your body sent back messages, because the outside world was pretty or not pretty, and it gave birth to the personal self. What is the personal self? Somebody wants to ask Yogananda. I might as well bring enlightened masters in a discussion. Master, what is the ego? What is the ego? You know what he said? The masquerading self. Take it slowly. In other words, the consciousness is back here. It's looking at form, including thoughts and emotions, different things, and it held on to ones, didn't it? It built an ego. It built a self-concept, as psychology calls it. It built a concept of itself. Who's ever heard the term self-concept? What does that mean? What is a concept? Is a concept real? No. A concept is something you make up. It's something you believe in or something like that. It's a concept. So you took the experiences you had, and instead of saying thank you throughout your life, instead of being God's emissary on the planet Earth to experience what you're experiencing, you said, I don't like that. That should not have happened. Who's that? Where did that come from? And you started holding on, especially to the ones that weren't comfortable to you. Everything comes, it passes through, it doesn't matter. Birth, death, life, this, everything just is part of creation. It's just quantum field. There's nothing there anyways. It's just all unfolding, and it pours into consciousness. I told you there's a part in the Gita where Krishna's telling that to Arjuna. And he says, just as all the rivers and streams of the earth pour into the ocean, and the ocean does not overstep its bounds, it leaves it as it found it, serene, content, at peace. So the world of sense pours into the yogi and leaves him as it found him, serene, content, at peace. That's what's meant to be. Everything happens, and it all passes through. Just passes through. It's just your experience pouring into consciousness. Why? You're not what happens. You're the one who experienced what happened. But because you focused on it too much, it was too strong, it was this, fear, I don't know. Just basically you couldn't handle that this event took place. What did you do with it? What do you do with events that you can't handle? You store them. Isn't that what Freud found out? You store what mommy did. You store what daddy did. You store what your first girlfriend did. You store what your last husband did. You store the experiences that you had inside of your mind and inside your emotions. And then you define yourself as the one that had those experiences. Who are you? I'm the one that got married to Ben, as big of a mistake I ever made. No, that's just an experience you had. That's not who you are. You would still be who you are if it didn't happen. But that's what we did, and that is a fall from the garden. The fact that you identified with what you were looking at instead of continue to identify with who you are, the one who's looking. And I love talking about it. It's so beautiful. Like in the garden, God couldn't find Adam. How did he not find Adam? He's one with you. We're all the same. It's all merged, right? And they walked around the garden. It's really beautiful. If you now understand what I'm talking about. Say, Adam, where are you? You know what he said? I'm hiding. Okay, how does the consciousness that knows itself as itself hide from itself? Only if it got distracted and separated. Only by focusing on something that's not the self, by not being self-realized, by being mind-realized and ego-realized. So by staring at that, he separated from God, and what happened? He hid. Why? He stood up. I like telling that story. And God said, oh, what is that around your waist? A fig leaf. I put fig leaves on fig trees. What's it doing around your waist? What did he say? So I was naked. That's ego. You've now identified with your body. Every animal is naked. Or they're not naked. Any way you want to look at it. What is naked? A self-concept that says something's not the way it's supposed to be. Who said? These are powerful things, aren't they? When you start looking at what's being told in those stories. And then you fell for the garden. What does that mean? You fell into your personal self. You fell into the mental concept that I am separate from God, I am separate altogether, and I am this self-concept of what happened to me and what I don't like and what I do like, and I formulate all these opinions and preferences and hopes and dreams. In other words, you fell from the garden. And what does it say is going to be like your life when you fall from the garden? From now on, by the sweat of your brow, you'll try to be okay. Anybody know anything about that? Anybody trying to be okay? Has anybody ever tried to be okay? Has anybody ever not tried to be okay? So that's what's actually going on. So what, in truth, does that mean about the purpose of your life? The purpose of your life is not about getting what you want and not what you want and avoiding what you want. It's not about that. It's about being the ambassador of God, the emissary of God, to experience what God is creating. It's always being created. Now, the problem is we talked about who moved the glass and why is it such a mess. Now that you have dropped down, and the you is now all of 8.3 billion of you, have dropped down into your personal mind. Why is it a personal mind? I told you, you had different experience than everybody else. Your whole life is different than everybody else's. And you held the things that you didn't like, and also a few things that you did like. There's way more that you didn't like, I guarantee you. And you built a self-concept. Now what? Now I'm not okay. Why? Because it's not happening the way I want it to. It's raining when I don't want it to rain. You said something I didn't want to hear. You walked and held his hand. No, the things are going on that I don't like. And guess what? If they're not going on, I'm thinking that they might. And I don't like that either. And if I'm not thinking that they might, I'm thinking that they did. And I didn't like that it happened. You got it? Is that not what's going on in there? What do you do about it? Well, I have a mind. It made rocket ships. You have a brilliant mind. Do you understand that? What are you doing with your brilliant mind? Do you have the ability of thinking about a galaxy far, far away? Did you understand anything I said about the quantum field and how it built the atoms and came up? Whoa, you're pretty brilliant. Is that what you're doing with your mind? Figuring all this stuff out and studying and doing all these things? No. Hopefully you do some of that, but that's not what you're doing. What you're doing is trying to figure out how to be okay. Should I call him? Should I call him? Should I wear this? No, I don't know. What should I do? My hair's turning gray. Should I dye? Well, I don't know. I don't like to look fake. What should I drive? I don't know. I should drive a Tesla because it doesn't pollute. Yeah, but it does. I got a mileage distance problem. I'll get a hybrid maybe. What are you doing in there? You know what you're doing? You're thinking about you. Even some scientists, they're studying it so they can publish, so they can win a Nobel Prize, so they can be famous, so they can name something after themselves. All right? Unfortunately, a lot of it's like that. And so basically you come down, you realize what you are doing is thinking about how to be okay. Do you not plot and plan how to be okay? I don't like what she said. Should I say something about it? I don't know. Maybe she didn't even think about it. Maybe she's maybe I misunderstood. Yeah, but if I don't say it, she'll do it again. That's what you're doing in there. Maybe you can do some science in between. You're lucky if you can. All right. So what happens now, and I have to say it with a whisper because it's so sad. Earth is the Garden of Eden. Don't go looking for the Garden of Eden. How about we compare Earth to Mars? Which one has more beauty and more interest? And it's unbelievable. It is the Garden of Eden. And that's where you came down to play, to experience the most beautiful thing that's ever been created. Everywhere there's amazing trees and flowers and weeds on the side of the road that put out little lilies. And it's like, give me a break. Every type of animal. But you're suffering. I told you why you're suffering. You're suffering for the exact reason Buddha said. Second noble truth of Buddha. The cause of suffering is preference, desire. It's because you stored all this stuff that bothered you before and maybe made you feel good before, and now you want it to happen. You don't want it to happen again, you want it to happen again. And so you walk out into this world with preference. You have a way you want things to be. Like, come on, you might as well shake your head. You have a way you want things to be, and you have a way you don't want things to be. Now you suffer. Why? Because they're not going to be that way. They're coming up from the quantum field. It didn't phone. How do you want it to be today? It is being how it's being. So now you are not okay. And so now what you do is you use will. What is will? Will is the power of focused consciousness. The fact that I picked that thing up is because I'm a conscious being and I focused my Shakti, my conscious energy, down through this system to make the muscles contract and expand. You follow me? And I willfully move that thing just like I'm willfully talking. Everything. Will. All right? But what is the intent of my will? There's nothing wrong with will. Buddhists teach intent is everything. That's what Buddha taught. It's the intent that matters. What is my intent? To make things be the way I need them to be so I'm okay. My intent is to make the moments in front of me, now and who's coming, to be the way I need them to be so I feel okay inside. Why? Because I don't feel okay inside. I'm not okay. Why am I not okay? Because I fell from God. I left the source of my being. Now I'm trying to recreate okayness out here. Good luck. So instead of settling into samadhi, into nirvana, which is your natural state, you lost yourself, but you want to be okay. So now you have to go out there and manipulate the world to try to make it be the way you want it to be, make people say what you want them to say. Any of you care how people think about you? Have you ever noticed there's a part of you that cares how people think about you? They're not thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves in relationship to you. It has to do with what they built inside themselves, doesn't it? But you care what they think about you. You care about every single thing, that it be the way that makes you feel okay. But the trouble is that what makes you feel okay makes him feel bad. Because you all had different experiences. It's not true that you're right. It seems right, because the sum of your learned experiences says this is what it looks like. This is what it should be. But some of his learned experiences are totally different because they had different experiences. Nobody's right. What's right is self-realization. Is returning to the source of creation and coming down clean and clear without a mask on. And that's not how we are. So we all go out there and fight with each other. That's what we're doing. It's not just in the newspaper that we fight. We fight in families. We struggle to try and get it to be the way we need it to be so we can feel okay. But everybody's different. They're all the sum of their learned experiences. You have no right to think that you're right. I know you have all the proof because those are the things that happen to you. They have the proof too. Take any one of these controversial subjects that go on nowadays, where these extremists on both ends, right? They both think they are right, don't they? That is hilarious. If they had had one different experience, they would think differently. Okay? So you finally get to the point of realizing what's going on. Of course it's a mess. Of course it's a mess. You take a whole bunch of lost people that are trying to find themselves where they're not. I'm trying to find myself. Well, you are the self. I'm going to the Himalayas. I need to find myself. Well, have you looked under the bed? Maybe you're there. You're in here. You're in here. If you're lost, it's because you're looking out and you're even looking at the part that's saying I need to find myself. Okay? So basically, you understand now, we've had a nice discussion that there are no big questions. What's going on? Now you understand what's going on? Well, what's the purpose of my life? Having children, getting married, starting a big business, having a lot of money, giving to charity? No. The purpose of your life is self-realization. The purpose of your life is to return to the source of yourself. Well, what will happen when I do that? There will be a state of complete ecstasy that is unconditional. It will never change. And what will happen then? My body's still here. That energy will be what comes down and interacts with the world. That's what Christ was. That's what Buddha was. That's what all the great ones are. They are not here for themselves, period. There's not a thing that Christ did for himself. Not a thing. Buddha, same thing. You don't need anything. You're filled with ecstasy. You're filled with love. So what happens? Everything you interact with is an act of love. Your intent now is to serve. If you don't need anything, if you're filled with Shakti, you're filled with spirit. It's just pouring. You are spirit, not even filled with it. You're back in that state of complete oneness, merger, beauty, but you're still here. Every interaction that you will have on this earth is an act of service. But you don't think of it that way. Mother Teresa did not think she was serving the lepers. She ran to go there. There's just giving. There's just loving. That's all that's happening, right? There's nobody else in there. There's no veil anymore. That's who you are. That's who the great ones are. So basically, a saint, an enlightened being, right? A Sat Guru, a master, the real ones, are beings who are merged in the seat of self. All right? When Vivekananda, Naran, went to Ramakrishna, he used to go to all the gurus at the time and ask them, he was a student, he was very intellectual, he'd ask all the different gurus, yeah, I understand you know the scriptures, you can say them backwards and forwards, you talk Sanskrit, you're teaching all the teachings. Do you know God? Right? And until he got to Ramakrishna, and he asked him, do you know God? And Ramakrishna turned to him and said, he is more real to me right now than you are. Ramakrishna had trouble seeing form. All he saw was light. He explained to his disciples, he says, every once in a while, you know, you see ghosts? They come in and then go back out, come in. When you talk to me out of a building, sometimes it looks like that. Otherwise, I'm blinded by the light that it's made out of. He lived in that state from the age of 6. Great beings are really great. Don't ever say you're enlightened. You're welcome to say I had an enlightening experience, but don't ever say you're enlightened. These great beings live in that state. The important part is they all said the same thing. You are the same. Christ said, that which I am, so also are you. As I sit by the throne of my Father, so you should sit by my throne. And these things which I do should do these and even greater things. All right. So that's what's going on. And that's the meaning of your life. But it involves living, it involves giving, it involves working through your stuff. How? How do I do that? Stop getting distracted by this meaningless stuff. It's raining out. Oh my God, I have to get out. I don't want to get wet. Very good. Congratulations. Welcome to the Garden of Eden. You've developed these stupid preferences that are completely inconsistent with creation. Well, how do I know if I'm in harmony with creation? You don't have a single problem. It's raining, oh boy. It's not raining, oh boy. She's yelling at me, oh boy. She's saying really nice things, oh boy. You're in harmony with what's happening. It's called the Tao. So how do you do it? You keep letting go of yourself. You keep letting go of these preferences that you have. It's hard because you're addicted to them. But if you start letting them go, just little ones, just let them go. The driver in front of you, the too hot, is it was raining, but somebody said or didn't say. Oh, that's a big one. I wonder what they meant by what they didn't say. So we create hell for ourselves, and then wonder why. Oh, no, what are you going to do? So you just keep letting go, keep letting go. What did Christ call it? Dying to be reborn. You die of the personal self to be reborn into the consciousness, into the spirit. All right. Well, I could talk for hours, you know that, but I'm out of time. Well, thank you for listening. It's good that once in our lives we look at what's actually going on, and everything supports that. All the great masters support it, and the scientists support it. They just haven't gotten down to consciousness yet, but how did the yogis get there? By going there, by being there, by touching a part of your being that is the quantum field. And light is pouring out of you, creating oh my God, we've merged with God. All right, integrative.